If you're planning on trying to install your infant car seat without the base, this is the video to watch, because that is something that you may not have considered when you bought your infant car seat. Infant car seats come in two pieces. They come with the actual car seat and they come with the base. And when you are thinking about buying your infant car seat, many parents are focusing on how to install their base correctly, and they're not thinking about those times where you're just going to have your infant car seat with you without that base. So we are very lucky today to have Bob Wall with us. He is a master car seat technician. He is the global car seat advocate for Nuna Baby. And Bob, hi.
Hi, how are you?
We're so happy to have you on Magic Bean's videos. Can you just briefly tell us a little bit about your background and why you are qualified to teach all of our fans about installing car seats?
Well, I was a law enforcement officer for over 23 years, excuse me. During that time, I actually was assigned to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, who sets the standards for child seats. And they put together a team of people, professionals from across the country, to develop a criteria to teach people how to do car seats and how to do it correctly. And they came up with a certification standard. And I was part of that team that wrote that original curriculum, which was many years ago, yeah. More than I want to talk about, but it was a long time ago, and I have been doing child passenger safety for about 35 years, as well as other people around the country, and I've taught over 1,000 people child seat technician information. But after that, once I retired, I continued in the field after doing a stint at the University of Wisconsin on Badgers. Then I came back to public safety. I went to fire department in Virginia, and I ran child seat fitting stations for 40 different firehouses in Virginia. And at that point, Nuna came to me while I was teaching a class and asked me to help them launch the Pipa here in the United States. And I've been with them since day one here in the US.
Well, you sound more than qualified. So parents are going to have these moments when they're just going to have their infant car seats. So can you talk to us about how to safely install your Pipa without the base? So the Pipa itself, just so people understand, you get this base. It has this sort of movement system. Can you actually, before we go into that, can you just talk about why this is important?
Well, I mean, it's important because we want to make sure that we have the right angle for the child. You know, when the child is born, we want to make sure that they're reclined so they keep their airway open. And obviously, the smaller children are not developed enough, and most of their body weight is in their head. So if they're up too far, their head comes forward, and they may or may not cut off their airway. So this angle is important to keep that airway open, and this track, or this rail, whatever you want to call this, it actually allows you to do different angles. Obviously on this, our relaxed base, position 1 and 2 is 4 to 20 pounds. So you want to keep it as reclined as possible when they're younger, and as they develop, they can be sitting a little bit more upright. Okay, so from 21 to 32 pounds, you can go more upright. So it's important as the child develops. It's all about development. As they develop and they sit up and they can turn their head, at that point, they can lift their head if they cut off their airway. It's kind of like you and I fall asleep in the lounge chair in front of the TV set. If we fall asleep and our head comes forward, we cut off our airway, our brain says, wake up, dummy, lift your head. Well, the baby's brain says the same thing, but they don't have the strength to do it. As they get older, turn around, they now can lift their head. So as they get older, it's not as important to be as reclined.
Got it. So for the actual relaxed space, we're gonna open up the load leg, have that, make sure that goes down to the ground, and then pull out the rigid latch. Oopsie.
And the key is, you put the latch on first, just like you're doing, And you missed this bar, I think.
I'm gonna do this correctly this time.
That's all right. There you go. And we have green on both sides. And now you can push and get rid of this. Now what's nice is, you know, the relaxed base then clicks in. If you try to put it in, what some parents do, try to put it in using this, and they can't get these on because this clicks in. So you need to, just like you did, have your hands here first.
Great. So, and then you just, to remove it, you are going to pull this out and it's
Resets itself.
And it resets itself. Great. Out of the way. So now parents find themselves, they're out, they have their, they're out for the day, they have their, their Pipa clicked into a Nuna stroller, and now it starts to rain, and they call a Uber or a Lyft or some sort of rideshare service or a taxi, and they don't have their base with you.
Right.
And now they have to put this in the back of the seat. That sounds extremely scary.
And parents are not used to doing that. That's correct. It could be scary if you're not used to doing it. Now these seats, most of the seats allow, because this has a belt path for the lap belt here. If you notice that all of our belt paths have a shade of blue, some type of blue marking, and we even have one back in the back here that actually has the blue, which is where the shoulder belt would go, and that's called a European belt routing. And it's called that is because in Europe, that's what they've been doing for years. We also encourage that because it acts like the base's load leg. The stability or load leg reduces the forward motion in a crash because majority, our greatest risk is frontal crashes. We want to reduce that. We want to stop that rotation to begin the child's ride down in the seat. So that extra webbing around the back is just like a stability leg. So people get intimidated because now we don't have to use the European belt routing, but we all prefer it. Okay. So what they do is they want to basically find these belt paths. In our older Pipas, the piece has got a larger blue piece on it. It's now a little smaller on these newer ones, and it's got a blue piece on it. So blue is rear facing. It depends on the manufacturer what the color is because we have not standardized those colors yet. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we are going to do the blue belt path, which is the rear belt path. And we're going to put it through the rear belt path right here where the blue is. Okay, just like you normally would with your seat belt. So if you're putting it through the belt path on your base, you'd go through the belt path. This is your belt path here. If you don't do the European belt routing, okay, you're done. You just want you want to lock it in place. But
so
we
how do you
encourage.
How do you lock it in place?
So the way we're going to lock it in place is if you're in a vehicle that has a switching retractor, or switchable retractor, okay, you're going to pull it all the way out to determine if it switches. All right, this does not switch. So at this point, we would have to possibly use a locking clip.
Got it.
Right here.
So just for folks to know, switchable retractor. So switchable retractor is, and Bob will correct me if I say this wrong. So as you know, when you have a seatbelt in many cars right now, when you go to sort of move around, you have some movement in the actual retractor. If you if you drop your phone, which you shouldn't have while you're driving, or if you need to, go reach over to your glove compartment, your seatbelt can go with you, right? It moves with you. But the thing that's interesting about a seatbelt is that it actually has the ability, many seatbelts have the ability to switch. So what you do is you pull out the seatbelt all the way to the very, 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 very end, at the very, very end. And in many car seats, now this demo rig that we have in the store doesn't do this, but many car seats, when you pull to the very end, when you release it, you're going to hear a ratcheting sound, and it's going to no longer have that ability to just be able to move. You're going to be locked in, and that locked in position, once it's switched to that locked in position, is the way that it's most of the time, which makes it the safe way to install a car seat. So that's true with a baseless install. So as Bob was saying, what you do is take your seatbelt, you put it through these
Belt routes,
these
belt guides.
Put them through these belt guides, and then it's really important, like you said, to switch that retractor over so that's locked in. All right?
Now, they may not, if they don't have this, the next place they need to look is the latch plate itself. Some latch plates are locking. This is not. This is sliding. So basically, everything since mid-90s, 1996 and newer, have to have, our vehicles have to have a locking system in the car for car seats. Okay, so it's either going to be the retractor or the latch plate. It depends on the model of car. I will say right now that probably 90% or more are switchable retractors, just like we described.
So if you call that Uber or Lyft and for some reason it's in that very, very low percentage, it looks like a really old car picks up, cancel the trip, call a different one. I'm serious, cancel the trip, call a different car so that you have your child in there safely. This is for...
This is if you don't want to do the European belt routing.
And so can you show us the European belt routing?
Now,
okay.
If you will do the European belt routing, which is preferred, okay? And we prefer that because it's more secure for the child. So we're going to do this and bring the shoulder belt all the way back around and put it through this belt guide here so it holds it in place. And there it goes. And now it comes back up this way. And now we are going to make sure that it's tight, all right, by pulling it, all right, because we want the lap belt to hold it in tight, and then we're going to feed it back through. And again, you would switch the retractor, okay, to make it locked, and then make sure it is tight. At this point, you've got it installed. You just grab it at the belt path. Now, see, this is pretty tight right now, but it's not locked, okay, because this belt buck does not have a lock on it. But once it's locked, it'll stay that way until you unbuckle it.
Right. So you want to make sure it's tight, less than 1 inch of movement.
Yeah, and that's pretty good right there. It's great.
That's pretty good. And then switch over the retractor. How do you know that it is? There's no bubble indicator or anything like that. How do you?
Okay. So you look at it,
that you're in the right
and
position.
there's a blue line right there.
Okay, there's a blue
so
line.
what you're going to do is you're going to step out, and if the blue line is level to the ground,
okay,
then it's reclined enough. And I think it is right there.
Okay.
And not to the vehicle, to the ground.
Got it.
Because remember, also you got to make sure you're not sitting on a hill and that whole bubble thing, but everybody worries about how it's, it just needs to be level to the ground.
Got it. Yeah. So there's a blue line right here. Make sure that you're eyeballing that at level to the floor of the seat. It doesn't matter where
as long as it's in one of the 3 lock positions, the handle could be in any of these lock positions.
Great, great. So that seems to be well. That actually is in really.
That's in really well.
That's in really well. Great. So I'd feel really secure as a parent. But let's talk for a second about the Nuna Urban. So I have one right here. Can you tell us a little bit about this? And I actually, it's pretty evident based on everything you just did here why this could be preferred.
This is revolutionary, okay? To actually have the lower anchors, the steel lower anchors on basically the bucket of the seat, okay? And sometimes we used to call these buckets, because you put the child in a bucket, okay? So if you have an Urban, you don't need to worry about belt at all. There is a belt path on the Urban, but if you have an Urban and you have a vehicle that has lower anchors, and we're gonna hand you this one, this Urban is truly revolutionary because we now have the rigid lower anchor, all right, that's on our base. So now it's on the shell of the seat.
So these are the lower anchors. So they're going to look different on different types of infant car seats. But if you have a Nuna Pipa, the Nuna Pipa is going to have something very similar to this type of rigid latch. But they took those rigid latches and somehow the geniuses of Nuna were able to figure out a way to get it onto the actual infant car seat.
And keep it at 7 pounds. That's the key.
Okay.
This is steel bars, and we've kept it still a lightweight seat at 7 pounds. So it also has for angle to make sure, so we take up that space in the seat. This allows for the angle of the child's seat to be correct. And it comes down automatically when these come down. And you have in your hand the belt guides. And these belt guides are not a requirement, but they make it, especially we're out in the back of a car that's really dark at night, or this can just pop right onto your lower anchor bar, all right, in the seat. And these are different bars. They're not a full bar here, but let's get this to work. And you push it right on. Okay, go ahead there. You're down there in the low. And instead of hooking on, they push right on, and they're very visible because they are yellow. Now this seat demonstrator has a different type of bar, so it's not really.
We're gonna pretend with the seat demonstrator.
Yeah. So
this will work very nicely on your actual.
On your actual car, it will be just pop in and go. Again, they're very visible. You don't really need them, but they're there in case you do.
We're
gonna take these out. So if you pull it off your stroller, you now have rigid lower anchors, and all you do is point and shoot. Okay. Is you put them onto the anchor points and you just push them on. That's it. They're both green. It's at the angle. Again, you're going to look at the blue line to make sure it's level to the ground. It is tight. It is on that bar and it's not going anywhere. And that's as simple as it gets.
That is really simple. So instead of doing that, switching the retractor, clicking it in, using all that stuff, if you get a Nuna Urban, you just click it in 2 seconds, 7-pound car seat, really easy. Again, and it does have the ability. You see, it does have those belt guides, European belt paths. So if you have a car that doesn't have latch for some reason and you need to use the seatbelt, you can use the seatbelt, but it clicks in 2 seconds. At this particular moment in the winter of 2022, the Nuna Urban only comes in a travel system. Hold on 1 second. So I have a Nuna Triv here. So the Nuna Triv comes with this super awesome car seat adapter. And so if you were in that taxi or Uber,
in the back, the anchors.
Oh, that's right, I forgot it.
Another great thing about this seat, it's easy to get out too.
I was so used to the other base, so to take it out, right here in the back, you just squeeze, and that's it. You don't have it. That's the whole story. Click it on, and you're out and ready to go. So then you go again, call that Lyft, call that Uber, etc. Remove, pop it open, line it up, click it in, and then pop that in the trunk. This really couldn't be easier. This is great if you are going to a grandparent's car and they don't have a base installed in their car, and now you travel to a grandparent and they're in a different state and you don't travel with your base with you. You get to their car, you want to install your baby safely and not have to go through this seatbelt routing every time. Get an Urban, click it into your Triv, your Travel, or your Mix. It works. It comes in a travel system, a stroller and car seat together in one box with the Urban.
Honestly, there's not a lot to talk about because it goes in so easy. It's one of those no-brainers. You take it out of the stroller, click it in, and it's done. Same thing with releasing it. That's how easy it is.
So, Bob, thank you so much. I hope you found this video helpful. I know I learned a lot. What you learned about installing a car seat without the base works for Nuna car seat. It also works for other infant car seats. The basic fundamentals of the seatbelt, the leveling, locking off that seatbelt to make sure it's in properly really applies to that. So I've done lots of videos on Nuna Pipa car seats. I'm going to put a link to my playlist below, and I will see you at another Magic Beans video.